Hi guys, just before we start the episode today, whatever platform you are listening to this on, whether it be on the podcast, Apple Podcast, YouTube, whatever it is, please support it. Please like, subscribe, whatever you can do. We want to reach as many people as possible. So please do that and we'll get right into the episode. Welcome to another episode of the Chronic Comeback Podcast. Today, I am really excited to have on the show Isaac Kakone. I'm pretty sure I got that right. Might have more of an English pronunciation of it, but so just to give you a bit of a background on Isaac's story, in August 2019, he got into a horrific motorcycle accident, resulting in his left arm actually exploding, tearing all of the nerves connecting his left arm from the brain, leaving him with neuropathic pain and a dead limb. After a year of progress learning to cope with pain through intense shock therapy and physio, he had a setback, which led to more intense and flaring chronic pain. This caused him to go into a dark place and was actually addicted to opioids, but unfortunately the pain never stopped. And I've actually been watching, crazy timing on this, I've been watching a lot of like documentaries and stuff about this, big issues in America and stuff like that. So really interested to speak to you about that.
The opioid world, yeah.
Yeah. So he realized that he needed to change and decided that the only way to get out of chronic pain is to focus on his mindset and his values, which is obviously just so in line with everything we talk about on this podcast. I think it's important to say that, he's still on his journey. And I think that's even more powerful for anyone listening, because I feel like it's even more relatable that he's able to be in such a positive mental state, despite what he's got going on physically. So welcome to the show, Isaac. How are you doing?
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you, man. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
So I'm good. So if anyone just wonders what Isaac's doing every now and then, he's just having a quick toke of a joint.
Yes, yeah. I do smoke. It helps me. A lot of people ask me, people that don't understand chronic pain, they tell me, you smoke weed, does it help you get rid of the pain? And no, it just helps you make the difference between Isaac and Isaac with pain. So yeah, that's what it does. It helps me somewhat stay clear. Some people does other effects, etc. But for me, it's a sort of way to help me zen out on my day to day. Yeah. Thank you for having me again.
All good. I'm a pro weed person, so I just thought I'd say it just to, if people wondered. It's all good. So what I'd like to do is just to go back before 2019 and just to understand a little bit about what life was like for you before then, like health injury wise. Were you someone who had many injuries? Was your health okay? Like, could you talk to us a little bit about that?
So to recap a bit about my life generally before the accident, a lot of my habits are what were my problem. But I'm born in Canada. At a young age, I moved to Israel. I didn't get too much guidance when it came to parenting. I left to a boarding school, so not really much people looking after you. So it's, do what you want, when you want, how you want it in life. And that's how it goes. I joined the military. I finished the military. I was always very sportif. I was always very, go-getter. You work really hard, everything the way it needs to be, etc. I had a very big turning point in my life. At 23, I felt like I was ready to get married. I met a girl, my wife, her name is Arava. She has blessed me with two beautiful kids, a boy and a girl. But I got married young. I always stuck to that. It was something I believed in since I grew up. I always said it as a kid. I want to be a young dad. And one of the reasons for that is because I personally didn't grow up with a father. I come from a house of just my mother, and she worked really hard. And I realized the importance of a father being in the house. And how could I do that if I'm old? Because I had a stepfather who was older. And every time he'd want to do something, he'd break a toe or a finger. So to me, the idea of fatherhood was also being young and in shape and ready to take over the world. I thank God that's the case, because today I'm 27. And if I would have, done like the average of my friends and get married after that, I'd be in a lot of trouble today. I wouldn't have the people and the beliefs and and the purpose to go ahead and overcome today. Because part of my recovery, of course, is family. But yeah, that was my life. I used to work 14 hours at the office. I deal with branding. I was dealing with branding. I was constantly putting in for the future financially to make sure that everything would be okay. Then one morning, went to work, and lunchtime, I was on my way home to go eat lunch, got hit by a car, and everything changed then. But I remember getting hit by that car, man. And when I hit the floor, I remember saying it, God is one, I believe in God. Like, to me, that was, I always remember that being like, yo, something's, I'm not supposed to continue. So that was it. It's very basic. It's more general, give or take how most people think, right? So I was doing the average. I have a family. I work 14 hours. I come home. I spend some time with the family, et cetera, et cetera. And that's my life. And on the weekends, I rest. I'm with the family, et cetera. Not too special of a guy, that's for sure. I wasn't the Isaac I am today, was somewhat inside of me, but I was just another Joe.
So with the accident, you kind of briefly mentioned it there. You were hit by a car. Is that what it was? On a motorcycle?
Yes, I was on my motorcycle, but it was impact bumper to bumper. And I won't go into details because I'm still going through the court case. Life doesn't stop after you get hit with chronic pain. Sure. Life goes on. So yeah. I'm just going to stop it there regarding that. But yeah, we went head to head. I was carrying someone. So what happened is the impact, instead of me going upwards, like when you get hit by a car, you go up, right? Bumper to bumper. I was supposed to go up, but his weight pushed me to the floor, which turned me completely to the side, and it went accident floor. There was no time. It was just all that 30 kilometers an hour impact was from the bike to the floor. There was no height. So the arm exploded. My head also hit the floor a bit, which caused it completely to go to the side to the right, tearing. I don't know if people know too much about the body, but it's from my C5 to my T1, which is mainly everything in the neck connecting my left arm to my brain. I tore it from the root. So that was a huge problem. I was paralyzed on the spot. The first hospital wanted to get rid of my arm. Thank God I was able to be transferred to a specialist in Limassol here, who's actually worldwide known. And I went through my operations with them. But wow, just thinking about it shakes me up a bit, man. Yeah. I ain't gonna lie, guys. Right. But it was, I still remember the impact with my head. When I moved my head, I remember the nerves being disconnected from my brain. I remember like an electricity, it locked my eye, my face. I woke up with what was called hornet's eye. My eye was closed, barely open. Couldn't open it for a couple of months. Why? Because the nerve system, everything was damaged. And that's what left me. Wow. From there, my life changed. From there, that's when everything changed.
Yeah. So just to understand a little bit more about that, like specifically what that means, when you say it exploded, if you can talk about this, it inside of the skin, almost the nerves and everything exploded. And then what?
So I'll explain it down to detail a bit more. So when my arm first hit the floor, it exploded. When my head hit the side, it also disconnected the roots from the brain. Right. And that is the big problem. So the impact here exploded the bicep, leaving me with 4%, 5%. That's what they said, of my tricep skin, the bone, the nerves, everything was done. So there was nothing. It was just like dangling by a piece of skin. So they said, we need to get rid of the arm. And then I was transferred to the specialist, where I went through an 8-hour process of, they were nip and tucking the whole thing like a puzzle. The arm is like a puzzle, putting it back together, a titanium rod inside my arm to connect it to the shoulder. And when I woke up, I remember waking up and the accident, because I tore the nerves from the brain, it ruined my nervous system, the brain itself, the third brain. You have your right and left hemisphere, and then you have the third brain at the bottom connected all the way down to your pelvis. And within the whole spine is actually the brain. And I tore it from within the brain, leaving my brain signals constantly telling me, I have fire going through my hands. So the accident, it's numbing, fire, butchering, the most stabbing in my nails. That's the feeling. It's like someone's cutting your arm off, going through the nerves. It's nerve damage, but to the fullest extent. And I'm flipping out here in pain. And I wake up and the doctor looks at me. He's like, "You're paralyzed. We saved the limb, but you're paralyzed. There's no arm connected to the brain. You have no nervous system. You have no nerves connected to your brain anymore. You tore it from the root." And to understand the nerve system, it's electricity. Our body is full of electricity. And if you cut electricity cord in the middle, you could connect the wires again. But if you burn the socket of the house, you can't fix anything. And that's the motherboard, your brain. If you burn it, you're done. And you tore it from the brain, you're done. He said we could do a nerve transplant and we'll help you go ahead in the future, maybe try to revive the arm with different nerves from your body. But this is the case, this is the pain. And I tell him, "You're nuts. My hands, I feel it." I couldn't understand the guy. I'm like, "But you're dumb, doctor. Look, my hand, this part of it is on fire." He's like, "Yeah, that's the nervous system. It's screwed." And I couldn't understand it. One of the reasons why I couldn't understand it is because from the second they did the operation to the second I left the hospital, I was connected to every drug in the book. Steroids to codeine to oxycodone to Valium, Xanax, morphine. What was the one I really liked at that point? There was one I actually enjoyed, pethidine. It's like what they give pregnant women when they're going through pain. So pethidine. And I was going through all of this cocktail every 4 hours. So like try to explain to a guy who's like about his neuropathic pain when he's never really heard of the term chronic pain. The only term of chronic pain I had heard before that was phantom pain, which is somewhat what I've gone through because my palm is, as you could see, doesn't work. My arm doesn't work. It's dead. So I shouldn't feel pain there. That's a phantom pain. So I have connection, neuropathic pain and phantom pain. It took me so long to understand that because of the amount of drugs I did. I spent 2 months at the hospital. The second I got out, I went into physiotherapy because we had done a nerve transplant. Pain was there every day. And every day I went back to doctors or I called them and I explained to them. I tried different drugs and they kept giving me opioids and there's no other drugs we could do. And maybe you could reach out. There's no real groups from the hospital that you could reach out to. I'm really lost. And throughout this time that I'm lost, time's going by. Physically, you're looking better, except for the fact that you're a junkie in bed and you're inflated. But you should be able to walk. And now you start judging yourself and you start going into the dark places. And you don't, it's not that anything, it's not your fault. It's never your fault. You decide. It's never your fault, but you always have the option. Life is hard, but you decide. So it's not your fault you're suffering. You're right. You could go ahead and fall to that corner of saying, I'm in pain and I'm waiting, and you expect from your doctor to understand Lyme disease or to understand neuropathic pain. You crazy doctor, give me something. What is wrong with you? I pay you money. Why do I have expectations towards something that no one has ever gone through? Until I didn't physically go through it, I would never understand what I'm going through, even today. I have to go ahead in my head. The amount of words I have to filterize in my thoughts of the feelings themselves, all that filterization that I go through to go ahead and try to tell someone I'm in pain does not come close to what I'm feeling. So how the hell should I think my doctor gets it, or my friends, or my neighbors, or my people around me, unless I'm not within my community? Don't have any expectations. And yes, the doctor's job is to do it, but today they go a lot towards science. So if it's not in the book, I don't get you. I don't get it.
Can I just ask you a little bit about the pain that you're having? Is that at that point it's just limited to the area in which you've had the injury?
So I have a back because I have the T1, all the nerves, I tore it from the neck to the back. So it's a lot of nerves. It's 5 main nerves. Shit. So I have pain in my back. I have pain in my neck. I have pain in the back of my skull at times where there's a lot of pressure, but it's not as constant. But the real pain I go through is the constant suffering that is just above my arm, you could say, from here, like above the wrist, a bit above the wrist, all the way down to my fingertips, is extreme fire. It's like the accident, but it never went away. And people can't understand that. I don't want people to think now to go into it, but understand the motorcycle accident has been on since then, never turned off, the pain.
And that you had this nerve transplant. Was the goal behind that you would be able to get some feeling, some use out of your arm? And did that not work? Or like what happened with that?
So I did the nerve transplants to revive the arm. That's what I call it, because it's from the brain itself. And I'm still going through it. It's years of work. Most people, every doctor I've spoken to around the world, spoken to doctors from the UK, I've spoken from Israel, from Canada, there's nothing. You're never going to have your arm again. But at the same time, I've learned that a lot of what doctors say is right, but there are different ways to approach things. And if I'm looking at my brain, it ain't limited. There is no end to what my brain could go ahead and achieve. It depends on how I use it.
Yeah.
So I don't really believe I'm continuing. I have an operation in the next couple of months now to do another nerve transplant. So I'm going to be keeping up on that as well.
I think, look, I don't know anything about the subject. However, as we were talking about before this, every single person that's come on this show, if they took the doctors at their word, they would never get to the position that they were in. So doctors are right about a lot of things. However, stuff when it's like chronic and longer term, I don't think they'll err on the side of negativity, in my experience of what I've been going, what I've heard, etc.
Of course.
But just going back into your story, so you had 2 months in the hospital, you came out, you were on a hell of a lot of drugs. This is in Cyprus, or?
In Cyprus.
Yeah.
I got treated because there was a specialist who does these nerve transplants. Look, the percentage around the world is 0. With this doctor, it's 50-50.
What is 50-50? Sorry, that you just keep your
arm. The arm could work again.
Oh, that it can work again.
You see, it all depends on how you look at things. The whole world told me you're screwed, Isaac. You're done. Yeah. Cut the arm if you want, or stiffen it. My doctor, though, when I look at his research, with give or take, because it's never the same thing, I see that it's like a 50-50 case with the guy.
Wow.
So if I just look at my doctor's word, who tells me the arm, he's not talking chronic pain, guys. He's not that type of doctor. I can't expect from him. And at the beginning I did, but
yeah,
he's putting the arm back together. So in that case, that's what I believe in. And I believe that my mind is a lot stronger than just the work that he's physically put in to transfer the nerve. This is my body again. This is me physically going through it every day. And I'm in charge of the outcome. I am. It's weird to say, but we all see it. We make decisions on a daily, and that affects your future. Yeah. Your future is judged by today's decisions. If today I believe, or even if I don't believe, but I'm willing to believe, I have a belief system that I'm going to get it. Dude, maybe you don't understand now, like you said, Phil, at the beginning, but with time, your knowledge expands. Suddenly you learn more, and then you get it. I call it it's like lightning. It comes to your mind. It's like the gym. You go to a gym, it's hard, you don't get it, you get it, but suddenly you feel it, and suddenly you have the addiction. Now I get it, why I have to do it like this and this. At the beginning, whoever's trying to lose the weight, you won't get it. It's the consistency first. Put in the consistency, and then one day it's going to hit you like lightning. That's how it works.
Okay. So, but going back into your story, I want to, because you're dropping some very good knowledge bombs on us right here, but I know there's a stage where you weren't able to maybe think about things like this. Can you talk us a little bit about what happened with the because I think I said at the beginning of the story that you got some progress, and then you had a setback, and then you went into more of a dark place where you got addicted to opioids, etc. Could you talk us a little bit about that? What happened with that?
100%, of course. That's why I'm here. I remember, so after the 2 months of being in the hospital, they sent me home. But this is from I was attached to codeine 24/7. 24/7. I was sleeping up, whatever it was in my. So I went from going from the extreme amount of drugs to going home with drugs, but it's still morphine tablets and etc. and everything I needed, the whole cocktail shebang. And I get home and the pain is now even worse. So I end up passing. First of all, I don't remember 50% of that year. I don't remember it. It's a blur. Why? Because of the drugs. Guys, when we say chronic, a lot of chronic patients, I realize, say that we have what is called chronic blur. We get blurry. It's true. Our brain does. Why? Because usually we're taking supplements or something to go ahead and help, which could be an opioid or a drug. And that causes also. So not only are you chronically sick and you're blurring, but you're also not helping. So you need to learn, it's not do or die. You could find the Zen. And throughout my time, I couldn't understand anything. And I'm taking these drugs. And now the drug does is when you're taking an opioid, it takes advantage of your dopamine. Your dopamine is your want, your urge, your strive, motivation. That is what dopamine releases. The want to go back. For a child, you give him a piece of chocolate, he eats it the first time, lights up. That's how he remembers to go back to it. It's an addiction. So they put you on a loop and it's not their fault. My arm's being cut off. I constantly feel the pain. It's at its highest of peaks and I have no awareness to nothing. They need to give it to me. But I'm taking this with no guidance, no understanding of life. And with time, what it does is, of course, you're able to take more and more. And you start abusing this drug. You self-abuse. And it happens to most people. You get to a point where you're mixing as much as you can. And then at one point, you're even taking, if you can, outside. If there's someone that would tell me, oh, okay, I got a tablet though for pain. It's prescribed by doctors, but I could get you some. You're willing to try that. Why? Because it's been a year you're waiting. You're constantly expecting for the pain to go away, for you to get better, but you're never going back to what you were. And your brain still can't catch it. And you're not helping because you're screwing your brain with so much drugs that is not your fault. And it's okay. Like I said, it's never your fault. And I got to a depression where I'm going to be very honest. I tried to take my life several times. I used to go to bed. I used to look at my wife in front of my kid. It didn't even think. And it wasn't because I'm not grateful or I thought I was a problem. How she wants a husband. I'm always in bed screaming from pain all the time. I want to be a father. My kid doesn't know me. There's nothing positive about me. I have no more purpose. So it's a lot easier. It's not that it's easier. It's the better thing to do at one point. And it's not that you want to do it when people used to ask me back then, yo, do you contemplate suicide? Of course not. My unconscious conscience, though, does. And listen carefully, because it's not your subconscious and it's not your conscience. It's your unconscious conscience. And there's such thing. It's that motherfucker in the morning who tells you don't get out of bed. Your subconscious knows you want to get out of bed. Your conscience tells you it's time to get out of bed. But your unconscious conscience, that guy tells you the other at everything. And he messes with you. And I tried and I tried and I tried and nothing works. And at one point, my arm breaks. So I'm rehospitalized. And guys, this is titanium. It's the hardest type of metal you get. And it makes no sense for this to break. And we looked at the pictures. There was no crack, but it happened. It broke into two. But really, we still don't know. Till this date, I can't tell you how. I don't know.
Wow.
But of course, the metal played with everything around, more pain, etc. I'm rehospitalized. While I'm getting rehospitalized, I tell my wife, you know what? At the beginning of the accident, when I got hospitalized, they were giving me the drugs through the vein, and it eased the pain. I didn't realize that back then. I never took morphine, so of course it would have helped me trigger right away for an X amount of time. But now I've been abusing for over a year. But I tell her I'm going back. It's going to be like a mental vacation, off the pain for a week, and then I'll come back to this reality. Again, our brains playing these ways of making us ignore what we have to deal with. I'm going to ignore it for a bit. I'll come back. They'll give me energy. It's not true. So I get hospitalized, and within the first 20 minutes, they know me now. It's been over a year, right? Morphine to the vein. Needle. Nothing. Call the nurse, get me my doctor, bring him back. He gives me another dose. Within an hour, I'm on 3 doses. I look at him and I tell him, doctor, give me a stronger morphine. And he's Greek, so he goes, Adere, what malakias? You don't understand, you are junkie, you are need the drug, you are no effective. And I look at him and I go, what? To me, it was like, wait. You mean even after all this crap I have to go through, after all this attempted suicide, and I finally say I'm going to have a little second to breathe, you're telling me there's nothing you could do? I can't do this anymore. I can't. And I sit there and I'm so mad. I take my joint. I had a box on the side. I take one out and I go downstairs and I'm about to smoke. And the nurse looks at me, you're not allowed to leave. You're on morphine. And I look at her, I go, you're new here. I've been here a while. You're new here. If there's a problem, go to my doctor. I pay enough money through my insurances for him to talk to me. Till then, leave me alone. I leave the hospital. I just argued in a debate. First of all, the reason why I win is because I pay money. Now that you ask me that, if someone told me, hey, sir, I pay money, so I'm leaving the hospital, I'd look at them and I'm like, yeah, but there's a rule book you stick to no matter how much money you pay. And leave the hospital is retarded. But again, some people and most people are unaware of what's going on through the situation, and they just allow things to happen throughout life. And that's what it is to go through life, just not paying attention. She didn't do her job and I didn't do the right thing as a patient. I went down there to smoke. And I'm sitting in front of the parking lot. And this story is going to stick with me forever. And I'm smoking. And I realize that I'm supposed to be high and I can't be. And suddenly I realized there's a bunch of people standing at the parking lots and they want to leave the hospital. And it's all ages. You can't say now it's the old generation. They don't get all ages. And I see that the gate is open and everyone's there with their ticket to pay the €2 so they could leave the field. And no one gets it. And they stay there. And I'm honest to God, they were standing there for 5 to 10 minutes, pressing on the button, using their phones, looking around, asking people beside, but no one could get it. And I'm standing there and I ask myself, I say, if this is happening and I'm here and I'm one of these people, if I'm looking at the picture, I realize the gate is open. It's open, it's broken, there's a problem. That's why it's free. If the machine won't take your ticket to pay and the gate is open, your exit, what was the main problem? The main problem is these people want to go home. There's an exit. To me, it was like, wow, they don't see that the gate is open. Now, Phil, again, I said this is all ages. People that come to visit their parents or someone gave birth, they're all trying to leave the hospital. The gate is open. They're trying to pay €2. And this isn't just Greek people. It's a hospital. And no one realizes. I was hospitalized for a week that time. Every day for 3-4 days, I went downstairs and this kept happening. And I even brought my wife. I told her one day, come, honey, you came to visit me, come downstairs. I want to show you how crazy the world can be at times. And they told me, wow, what are these people? What is everyone missing right now? Awareness. What it is to be aware of the situation. Self-awareness. What is my situation? And I went back upstairs and I laid down in bed and then I kept asking myself these questions. And suddenly I realized, I said, okay, if you can't tell me what you want, Isaac, right? Because the idea is to try to figure out what you want. Dr. Joe Dispenza says it. He says, write down what you want for the future. That's how you'll start it off. Dr. Jordan Peterson, Simon Sinek, the list goes on, write it down. So I decided I'm going to sit there and I say, if I can't get what I want, then what do I not want right now, Isaac? And I don't want this anymore. Isaac's here, but there's something killing me and I'm done with this. I can't go through this shit anymore. So what's your biggest problem? Suicide, depression. I have a family. So the first thing I said is the first thing I want shall become happy, which means no matter what, I'm going to work to focus on being happy. And then I said, okay, what's happiness? You keep breaking it down. It's awareness. What's happiness to me then? And I'm thinking and materialism became very easy to get rid of because there's no vacation, there's no car, there's no amount of money you're going to give a chronic patient. It's going to get rid of the problem. The problem's there. So this has no more real value to me because I'm in real pain here. I'm in depression, but I'm in a really dark place. I'm trying drugs on the street. I'm realizing that my life has no more continuation. I have no purpose. I sit down, I say, I'm going to go ahead. If I can't give physically, can't give financially, then I'm going to give mentally. Because to me, Happiness is giving. If I had to break down that emotion, what is happiness? It's an emotion. When do I get that emotion, Isaac? When I give. If I gave a guy, if I did something good, if I talk about it and help a friend, when I'm giving, I feel good. I cause this effect in my body to feel better, which helps not get rid of the pain, but to let it go 1%. Let go 1% of that mindset of suffering all the time. So I said, okay, I'm going to go for that. And I started breaking it down, and I realized that all these people, what we're talking about, religion, everything, what is the core to it is having values. Things you value, you believe in. It's a system, something that cannot knock you off your path. If you're trying to go straight and chronic hits you, you know where to go ahead and zen yourself because you've learned yourself. You know what you value, you know what you believe, and how you go for it. And which means get rid of materialism, get rid of everything, your true beliefs. So a lot of people will tell you, oh yeah, family, and they break it out. And if I ask, most people can't give me 5 values off the bat. They can't, not if they wanted to. And that's what I realized. I don't know who I am. There's a kid who knows, but how could I recover if I don't even know who I am? Maybe the problem is me. And you start learning things about the brain, like the right hemisphere, the way it's like knowledge comes into it. It's all these emotions. You don't understand what it is. It goes through a filterization through the brain where it's called white liquid blood. It transfers the blood from red to white. And within that blood system, that little fluid of, I don't know, 2-3 milliliters, I think it's something like that. It has little crystals that when they enter the left side, they multiply themselves. And that's how it works. And what it is those emotions, how you react to them. So the emotion comes in, and if I feel it's too much on me, then it creates it in the left hemisphere, the same thing, but even more. And when you wake up the next day, and this has become your habit, which is an addiction, guys. If you get up every morning and your habits you're not pushing yourself, it just became a habit. And we all know what I'm talking about. Then again, you're in somewhat of an addiction. You can't change it. You're going to see you try, it's going to be hard. You start learning your body. You start understanding your pain. I realized, okay, I'm going to need to build my values. So I go ahead and tell everyone the same thing that everyone said. I'm not the first one to say it. Take a pen and paper, start writing what you value. Mine started, of course, with faith. I say it for me. I say it for an atheist. I say it for everyone. Faith in God or faith in yourself. Believe in something. You're bigger than what it is. You're godly-like. You're more than what you think you are. I used to be just a regular Joe Isaac with 2 arms working 14 hours, not paying attention that he's not actually giving time to his family because he's 14 hours at the office. Now I'm Isaac with chronic pain who's willing to take over his life. And a lot of people tell me, wow, this is really motivating. I think you're great, but it's not me. It's a sense of awareness. And I realize self-neglect, things like this, learning your values. So 1 is faith. 2 is awareness. You need to be aware of the situation, physically, mentally, financially. Help you let go of the drugs automatically. I need to go ahead and learn how to be happy. One thing that's not helping me is the drugs. It causes blur in my mind. It causes depression. It causes the cycle to go into volume again. It's not what I need. I'm going to get off of it. Doesn't have to be immediately, but you know what you want. And that's the thing. No matter what, if I wake up on a bad day, I remembered I'm getting off the drug. It's normal to go through this, but we don't think of these things. So you zen yourself back into your values. And after that, I realized personally for me, if I wanted happiness and it's giving, then if I had to break it down into a word, it's called empathy. And empathy is you give a fuck for no reason. Excuse the language. You're just there for someone. It's not sympathy. And people make that mistake because sympathy means you almost care so much you're willing to take the problem on for him. It's empathy. Because if you're willing to take your mom's problems, yeah, I'm going to buy her a house, and you never achieve, do you know how shitty you'll feel if your whole life you said, I'm going to buy her a house? And sympathy is I'm going to buy her a house. Empathy is I'm going to make sure my mom's going to be okay. When she comes to me and she needs me, I'll always be there as a son. I'll value the word son or father. And I realized empathy was the third one to giving. It was what would build my personal happiness to life, constantly giving to people. My fourth one then came in, of course, with fatherhood, because it's not, again, Simon Sinek says it good. He's like, use the verb create the action, really turn it to life. And fathership is the idea. It's the understanding of what it is. Fatherhood is the action to what you need to do all the time. So it became where if I need to be a good father, that means I need to be a good husband. That means I need to be good with family. And for me, it narrowed it down because I'm a father, which means I need to be a good husband and a good. So to me, my next step was, even if I'm sick and I've been in bed for 2 years, every morning I'm going to wake up no matter what. Why? Because my wife needs it. You need to self-sacrifice something to go ahead and build these values. It will teach you to be strong. And you'll need tools like consistency, or it could even be a value of yours. But consistency is one of the things I value, but it's more of a tool because fatherhood is there, and then leadership. Because the idea of my end game, my peace, is dying knowing that the ones I love will look at me as someone that they could be leaded by, so they'll always come back for guidance. Because what do you want when you're 70? I look at people that all they want is their family around them. So I want my family and whatever comes with that. I constantly want to devote and self-neglect, self-sacrifice myself for my purpose in the future when I die, my end game. And throughout that, there's a journey. There's a very strict code you need to stick by, and you need those. And that will help get rid of the constant living in pain, of the depression, of of thinking there's no way out, of the expectations, of the anger. I see people online, they've been online for so many years, but they're still so in pain, and they're willing to live that. And they'll fight you. No, my way is the right way. I just put a post. Albert Einstein says it. Keep doing the shit you do every day and expect something new. And that's when you know you're insane. But 15 years online showing us is not enough for you to understand. You might be insane, Isaac, for thinking the same shit every day. I'm insane. And again, that's why it leads back to when I'm a child. And you're going to have to deal with these emotions. And you're going to have to start learning how your body works and understanding when you get high and down and up and low. And you're going to have to wake up happy every morning. I play music. Why? Because I know it helps me get up. Find what helps you move. Find a system to get you moving.
So can we? There's a lot of useful things there for people to use for their own for their own journeys and what they're going through. And I think focusing on your values. Actually, I was on a course recently where it talked about actually focusing on your values. And you're right. I was like, Jesus Christ, like, let me actually have a think about it. I had to have like a list of values for me to actually like think about it, and then when I actually ranked them, I was like, oh wow, that does actually, when I'm making decisions, am I making them in alignment with like my core values? And I think that's really interesting. And just going back to you made that was the turning point. I was kind of wondering where you were going with the story of the where you were everyone was pushing the button. I was like, are you going to bring this back? And you
You
did.
know why? You know why? TEDx. I was watching a TEDx, guys. I know you might be short on time,
Yeah.
and it says there was a study, I think, out of Harvard that said 80%. At TEDx, they said 80% of the general public on a good day are unaware that they're unaware of life.
Yeah.
And then there was a study that came out of Israel that I saw. And again, this is awareness, knowing what's going on. I saw a study that said 90% of the world think above average. And that really put me back in my place. I said, wow, I must be really stupid. It got me thinking. I'm like, wow, I must be one of them idiots. Because how could you go ahead and what are you going to say now? Oh, no. But it took me time to learn these things. And I learned them and I really put them into my life. I realized that, wait, time out. And then you learn things like at a table of three, which one learns the most? The one who's listening. And then you realize things like community. You need to go ahead. People don't realize the importance of going ahead and starting to search. You don't realize what you did. You don't realize, Phil, how much of an impact it would have had on you. You didn't know that back then. When you started and you said, okay, I'm going to see and reach out, because now you have so much more awareness to what's going on. It's a whole different game. It's a life changer. To go ahead and know who you are, to know how to take care of this. And that's what we said. Our bodies hurt, so our brains follow the body. I'm in pain, doctor, help me, please. I don't understand it. Understand your brain and your body will follow the brain.
So
but just tying this back into, that was the turning point for you, that where you went back into your hospital bed and you realized that you had that mindset switch and you need to look at your values. And then from that point onwards, were you like, okay, I need to identify and rank my values, and then I need to live more in alignment with that each day? And as you did that, each day, this started to help you deal with your situation, help you get off the medications, etc., etc. Is that right?
Not only did it do that, that's the little things that it did for me, guys. It helped me realize that I don't suffer all the time. And those are what it did. It gave me purpose. I got online. I decided I want to help. I want to live for the future. I want to see myself die in a certain way. It gave me real purpose. If you think you're going to be okay in life, even without pain, even without opioids, and you think everything's going to be dandy, then you're going the wrong way, my friend. It's going to hit you soon. And you need to know yourself. So it gave me true purpose on knowing who I am. When someone asks me today, what do you want to do with your life? I know what I want to do. I want to guide people. I want to help people when they need it. I want to care so much. So maybe now it sounds selfish a bit in my head. It's like, wait, I'm doing this to help them. And at the end game, I know that I get help out of it as well. Yeah. And it's not, that's the circle of life. It's either you're going to project good and get good, or you're going to do the other thing and, just get the other thing.
And I see on your Instagram, you're doing a lot of like physical activity now. Like I think I've seen you doing some box jumps. Like you're clearly still working on your body, but with a stronger with a stronger mind to help support that. Are you, in terms of your pain, is it as bad as it was before? Is it better? Or does it is as bad, but it doesn't affect you because of how, driven you are by your purpose?
It's exactly like the gym. The gym never gets easier. You push your life all the time.
Right.
But you get stronger. So the pain and somewhat never changed or anything, but I definitely am in charge. What I called it for me is retaking control of my life, and I'm in control.
Yeah.
Not the pain. I'm in control. So yes, there's pain. It's okay, guys. I'm not saying it's going to go away, but if I continue like this 10 years down the line, you're going to say pain, and I'll ask you, what pain? What pain? First of all, guys, that's what creates us. You realize when I used to go to a gym and I had a six-pack, it was great. But when you go to a gym with one arm and you're jumping box and you have your mono rope and it looks like you're double jumping a jump rope and etc., your motivation, the switch you will have will be ridiculous. Ask yourself, what if I figure out my purpose and my journey and why I suffer and how I overcome and how I could help someone else with it? And the idea is servicing people. So imagine you come up with your formula and then you're like, wow, fuck, man, I made it. You'll realize you never made it. And that's the thing, is you'll never get sad again, because you'll never have to make it, because you know that the journey is forever till you die.
Yeah.
And you know that it's okay, and you'll accept, and you'll use the right things. And every time something hits you on the side or knocks you off your journey, you'll know how to get right back up and rezen yourself to where you want it.
So comparing the Isaac before the accident and the Isaac that is with us today, how is your life different? Obviously I know that the specific reasons it'd be different, but if you can look at ways in which you could be grateful about how your life is actually better as a result of what you've been through, what would that be, do you think?
So first of all, I like to do this a lot actually when people ask me, is I look back before the accident, 20 years further down the line, I'd be divorced. Why? Because today's statistic, 52% of the world in North America, just North America, is divorced. That is just one statistic. The other statistic is that, I was saying I got to resent. You see, I still get chronic blur at times, but I'm aware this happens once in a blue moon, guys, nowadays. The pain's not gone away, but my blurring went from 10 times a session to once every now and then. Why? Because I'm constantly working on my brain. But I was saying, how does it help? 20 years down the line, I'd be divorced. Why? Because the statistic shows that 52% are unaware. The second statistic shows you what? That 90% think they think above average. And the third one is 80% is unaware that they're unaware. So if these three statistics were against me before I even know who I was, of course I entered the game of statistics. But people like to say, I don't like statistics. I don't go, yeah, but you don't know them. 70% of heroin abusers, by the way, come from the opioid world. Hence the reason why I was looking from a drug outside. It's not their fault. They just don't understand, and they're trying to get rid of the pain.
Yeah.
40% of chronic patients go through attempted suicide. That's 4 out of 10. It's very normal. When you realize that the chronic game becomes a mental thing, and the answer, like you said, people waste 15 years, and then they realize. The answer to chronic pain, my friends, is there is no answer. There's no one who's going to answer you. But we do know how it looks and how people react and how it feels. You're in charge. It's not your fault, but you're in charge. I know it sounds retarded and people will disagree with me or whatever it may be, but I'm okay with that. I really am. Why? Because when they tell me, yeah, not everyone's physically able to go out, I'm not talking about to go jump boxes or jump rope like me. When I started, I got out of my bed and I went to the couch, and then I started to go for a walk to the beach. That's what I did. And now I'm jumping boxes. But again, you could complain for 15 years or do the other way. So it helped me in a way that today it saved my marriage, because I'm not part of these statistics anymore, because I'm aware of what's going on. So I'll get up, and when I come home hungry and I want to yell at my wife because I'm hungry, I'll take a second to sit in the car, 10 seconds, and realize I love my wife. And it's just an emotion I'm getting because I'm lacking food. And that's my fault. I should have ate something an hour ago. I wouldn't be so mad.
Yeah, I don't think you should ever yell at her if you're hungry.
God forbid. But you see, you're not married, Phil, are you?
I'm not, but I don't think that's a good strategy for anyone to use. So
no, but you see, God forbid, that's the thing. But when you get married and you've been with someone 20 years, it's like telling you not to yell at your brother for the milk in the morning, or your sister back in the day. Fair. So it becomes, there's a habit. It's an addiction. It's because emotions come into place and you don't use the right thing.
But so you obviously you mentioned about your marriage, but it sounds like you've really gone through a big, almost kind of like spiritual, awakening or something that you've gone through in this mindset that you're in now. It doesn't sound like you were in this mindset before. So, I mean, I would see, if I looking from an outsider's point of view, that's got to be a huge positive for you, right? This different in mindset that you have compared to how you were before.
Again, it saved my marriage, my life, my purpose. As a kid, I built myself an idea of fatherhood because I didn't have a father, right? That means a kid once upon a time believed that he's going to be a dad and play with his kid. It saved what my beliefs used to be before I even knew I was going to lose them. And if you ask me, how could you not lose a family if you decide to dedicate every second of your life to work? You see it with the big ones. The big players get divorced. The billionaires, the millionaires. Why? Because you have to find the way to Zen it. You could achieve both. You just need to figure it out.
Do you believe?
You can't just fall to one.
Do you believe that because I believe that I was given this these chronic issues for a reason, because I wasn't learning the lesson I was meant to learn. Like I was, living life in a non-sustainable way, and until I learn those lessons, my health won't get to a position where I'm happy with it. Do you feel like it was kind of something that the universe intervened, and you had that accident so you could learn the lessons you've learned?
In my book, of course, I believe in religion. I'm a very strong, again, faith. When I use my first value as faith, I'm not talking as an atheist. I'm talking about God. When I told you I hit the floor on accident and I said, there's only one God, I believe in God. And it was because I knew God was like, yo, you fucked up this time and I'm not going to be here to answer your answers. And that there's a feeling of that. I got to a point, I remember I used to go, call it meditate, call it what you want, but I'd go pray. And when I would beg for God to send me answers, I feel like he'd give me his back. And they say, I'm Jewish, right? So I read a lot of Old Testament, the biblical ways. And awareness comes with, I looked at my forefathers, right? You have Jacob, you have Isaac and Abraham. Jacob had his shit. Jacob, had a pinched nerve. He had chronic pain throughout his life. He fought with the angel of Asa, it's called, and he hit him in the limb. And I realized this guy, wait, when they talk about having a hip pain, they're talking about Jacob being chronically sick. When you look at Abraham, when you look at Isaac, who is blind because he looked at the sun, you look at all of these people, you look at Moses, who is known for, I don't care religion or not, everyone knows who Moses is. It's a respect that there's no end game to it. And this man burnt his tongue as a child, apparently. You see that most people sacrifice something to become something. And if you look at it, and that's awareness. And then I say, okay, so what did Abraham do? And I'm reading the books and I'm going over some things. And Abraham, when he's there, he comes from a family, very rich. They sell idols. Everything's okay. Life's good. But he asks himself, where's God? What's God? What's going on? These idols aren't it. There's not. He started asking questions. Ask yourself questions. What do you want? How are you? How do you want to see yourself die? You can't understand that. Look at that. Write it down. Remember it. It's a sense of, if you just follow the great people that you see throughout history. Nelson Mandela sat in prison for so long for his country. And he's known worldwide to everyone as a great leader. And he says things like, listen and sit in a circle, let people be heard. You see these people, these actions, you see Tony Robbins, man, people laughed at this guy forever. This guy is still sitting there, man, happy, smiling with his wife. And he has people and he's guiding them, and who cares the end game? He's fulfilled as a person. And that's what you look for. So
what would be your advice to someone right now who's, obviously people who are listening to this are going through all different kinds of things. Some people dealing with it for a lot shorter period, some people dealing with a lot longer period, and dealing with all kinds of different ailments, but mentally probably all in a similar position. And so what would be your advice to someone who's like going through their darkest times at the moment, you know, looking back on what you've been through, in order to get through this and knowing that there will be something good coming up?
Yeah, my tip. So there's 3 stages to healing. The first one is called self-sacrifice. Realizing you're not that important, because when you self-sacrifice, then you're willing to listen, you're willing to go to doctors, you're willing to do things. You have to be sick of your persona, this mask you call Isaac, suffering chronically, sick of who you are. So 1, it's learn to self-sacrifice your ideas, your thoughts, what you think is right. The second one is make the difference. Know the difference between you and know the difference between your pain. So like I said, a lot of people who smoke weed, it helps them know the difference between them and their pain, or them with pain. So know the differences. It will help guide you. And the third thing, the most important one, is sweeten life at all times. Why? Because when you have one hemisphere that's transferring and it's mimicking and multiplying the way you feel, then if you feel shitty tomorrow, you feel shitty times 2, and then times 4, then times 8. But if you wake up and you're willing to say, okay, you know what, today I'll be happy just for getting up. The most simplest of things. So then it goes down 1%. Again, like I told you, it never goes away, it goes down. So that's what it is to sweeten life. And at one point, if you ask me today, Phil, ironically, I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life. Yes, I suffer, I have pain. The happiest. And I'm in the weirdest of times in my life. I'm through the journey. I'm not even anywhere. I'm not helping people on a day-to-day, maybe, but who am I? Self-sacrifice. Self-sacrifice. Make the difference between you and your pain. Sweeten life. And understand that, I know it's weird, but when I look at chronic pain, and I did what you did, I went into all fields as much as I can to see if there's an outcome. There is no real outcome. No one has ever told you, yes, you do A, B, C, it works. There's no true answer to chronic pain. The answer we have is you might live with this the rest of your life. So if that is the answer, physically, you can't help yourself anymore with drugs or external help. The only thing that's left is the ideology, is the mental, it's the way you believe, it's the way you see. Because there's nothing you could do. And since then, I've been suffering the same amount. But maybe in 10 years, I'll be one of those guys who tells you, look, There's no answer. It's a long-term thing, but throughout the journey, if you do this, you'll see an increase, and you might actually, the statistics will be a lot higher.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So yeah, in terms of like how people would be able to reach out to you and connect with you if they wanted to do that, how would they go ahead and do that?
Well, at the moment, it's my Instagram. You can find me on Instagram. I think you show it on your page, of course.
Yeah.
That's where you can find me. You can follow me. Feel free to go ahead and message me whenever, however. Really, if you think there's anything I could do to help, first of all, I'd be honored. But in general, really, I'm here to help mentally, physically, and if I can, financially, Manuel. That's also part of self-sacrifice.
Okay, awesome. Look, thanks so much for coming on and sharing your story, man. I know people get a lot out of that. I definitely maybe want to try some of that weed you're smoking.
Yeah, man, you're a funny guy. Well, UK, you're based in the UK, if you don't mind me just throwing it out there. So I'm in Cyprus. We're not that far. I used to do a UK a bit, so I might, if I ever drop by.
If you ever drop by, man. Cool. Well, look, thanks so much for coming on and sharing your story again. And
thank you, man, for having
this out there. And I'm excited to see what people have to say. I think they're going to be truly inspired by what you've been going through.
Thank you so much, man. It means a lot. You see the difference when you're willing to take cover, just that little switch means a huge difference in life to someone else, man. Thank you very much. I love everyone who's watching, truly. Thank you very much, man, for having me. And again, if there's anything, even you, if you ever want to talk, I'd love to do this all the time. So why not? Anyways, man, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for having me again.